What's up, everybody? I'm Metal Nick,
I'm Jeff Christopher.
and welcome to episode number 47 of Vinyl Bang. Today's episode is Viewer's Choice number 8. Holy shit, Cha. Thank you so much. Um, another great selection that we got randomly one morning, and Jeff and I decided let's build another episode because it's tough to book three people schedule and get a guest on with me and Jeff these days. But yeah.
A lot of conflicting schedules, and got stuff lined up later on. But it's hard to do that with three people. We know a lot of busy people, Nick. We need to find less busy people
No,
try and hook
absolutely.
up with.
Absolutely. Stop touring bands. Friends of ours who are in bands, like, do our show.
Yeah, stop
Um,
stop doing cool stuff. Do
yeah.
cool stuff with us.
No, today's gonna be a fun one because when we put this together, however long ago, I could tell your beard has grown since the last time we did an episode together. So, um,
It's been like what 9 months.
something like that. It's
It was up
crazy.
here last time, so it was
And
like
I still have the same 7 records I wanted to share last time that we can do today. So it's a miracle, dude, that I just didn't buy anything in those 9 months. But um 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 no, when I put this list together, I was very excited because these are really fun topics, and Alex, he's a very creative gentleman, and I cannot wait to get it back on our show. But let's not waste any more time because these are really some fun ones. The first topic is Cover Me, your favorite album that has a cover song of another band's material. Bonus if you have both albums.
yeah, I wish I did have both albums, and I was going to go try to find the original artist's vinyl in the last 9 months, but I wasn't able to track down a copy of Houses of the Holy. I am going to start the episode off with the cover song topic of Tool, Upside Down. Tool's Salable compilation that came out, I believe it was after Anima, like a year or two after Anima. They covered
No,
uh, Tool. What?
no, it was like right before, maybe like a year or so before Lateralis came out.
Right, but it was
Maybe
still after Anima.
yes, but not like a year or two.
So, no, well, it might not have been a year or two, but it was still
Um,
after
they were on a
Anima.
hiatus for a minute.
They were. On this compilation, they covered Led Zeppelin's No Quarter, which is a phenomenal cover. It is on side D side D of the second disc of the Salable box set. This is an obvious bootleg. I mean, Tool has like 3 official vinyl pressings. The rest of everything you'll ever find is all bootlegs. But this is a cool bootleg. It sounds awesome. Um, but yeah, I love their cover of No Quarter. I was doing whenever I was doing research for this, I found out that initially they recorded this cover to be on the soundtrack for the Howard Stern movie Private Parts, and I guess at the last minute they decided not to have this song featured on that soundtrack, and this upset Howard Stern greatly, and I guess he kind of lashed out at them for a while because of their decision to back out from having that song put on the soundtrack. And I was never aware of that.
Wow, neither was I. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. And the rest of the soundtrack is like I briefly looked over it, but I think it's like covers.
I can't remember who was on it. Maybe like Aerosmith was on it or AC/DC was on it.
AC/DC was definitely on it. I mean, I can't remember the rest of the track list, but Tool wasn't.
No, for sure. I always wondered where that, because for the longest time, at least when I around the time when I had like access to the internet. Like I always wondered where that cover song was recorded for because it wasn't listed as like on some Led Zeppelin like tribute album or anything.
Right, right. Yeah, and I always wondered that as well. And I mean, um, I'm grateful that they did it because, like I said, it's one of my favorite covers of all time. They absolutely killed this cover. They a few years ago, I forget if it was 2015 or 16 or when it was, they were touring with Primus and they opened the set every night with No Quarter. So I've seen them perform No Quarter live,
Cool.
which was very cool.
I do know that they've done that. All right, moving on. My cover song and Schlindig is this is from Psyopus's second album, Our Puzzling Encounters Considered. There's a bit of a glare there. This came out on Metal Blade Records, but when it eventually got pressed on vinyl, Silent Pendulum Records uh, pressed this, and I have I'll show you real quick. That's the one that I broke out randomly. I have two pressings of this. I know there's a couple more, but I could only get my hands on what I could get my hands on. It's not listed on here. There are 11 tracks, and then after the 11 track ends, there's like this weird little music, and then it plays this answering machine recording from some female, and she's like, it's a little weird. It sounds a little makes her sound a little psycho. Like she's like, I miss you, I hate you, and she's just talking shit to whoever she's leaving this voicemail to, and then she just says, "You're so fucking annoying," and then it repeats the word annoying like for maybe like 15 minutes or so, and then it breaks into a cover of the Red Chords' "Catalepsy," and ironically enough, I do have that album on vinyl. The Red Chord. I grabbed randomly one off the shelf, so I don't know which one it is. I'll surprise myself and pull out here. And this looks like I think I don't remember which one this came from. Maybe Decibel or no, Decibel was like the fire one. Maybe this was Death Wish, but Catalepsy was on Red Chord's first album. It's a third track on this record, but at the end of this, oh shit. At the end of this album, after that girl like does her little thing, they break into a cool cover of this. I don't think they cover the entire song, but they start playing it, and then there's this just like little studio recording, like talking. Just I guess it's like Chris Arp and Adam Frappoli, the original singer of Cypress, and they're just having this conversation, and they tell this funny story about how somebody, I guess, broke into Adam's car and all that. So he's driving the scooter around and tells this funny story about how some cop pulls him over and starts talking to him about Steve Vai. But yeah, Psyopus covered the Red Chord on their second album, and it was a hidden little thing. It's not credited anywhere on the album, but if you listen to that full album, that it is on there at the very end. And yeah, I have both of them.
Very cool. Good for you. Bonus points for you. There
we go. I try to make it work here with these awesome topics that Alex has picked for us. This next one is a funny one as well. Jesus Christ, these titles that Alex picks are just. If you know him like I know him, this is Cha. A Reuben that isn't a sandwich. Favorite Rick Rubin produced record and discuss the many genres he's produced. So I'm gonna let my Jeff go ahead.
Starting off with the different subjects or topics that he's produced. Like whenever I was going through his discography and seeing what all he's produced over the years, he's done a lot of shit. A lot of shit. Like I realized that he did the South Park Christmas classics, the Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Poo, the Christmas classics. He's done some. Of course, he's known for like Beastie Boys, License to Ill. He's done stuff with Slayer, Johnny Cash. A lot of just various different artists and projects throughout the years. He's done a lot of shit. Very, very, very well known producer. Out of the, I don't know, 10 or 12 albums I have that he has done, I decided to go with an album that I'm surprised I haven't discussed on this show, or maybe I have. I don't know. Getting old, start losing track of shit like this. But I want to talk about Red Hot Chili Peppers' Blood Sugar Sex Magic, because it is just, I want to say this is a desert island album, but it's not quite, just because I don't think I could take like 30 or 40 albums on a desert island. But yeah, this is a great album. And this is around the time that I fell out of them, like One Hot Minute. And we discussed this, I believe, whenever you had shown this as a recent purchase. That had its moments, but this album is just front to back, just so good. So good. I was at Target or Best Buy lately, and I believe they had their own pressing, and I don't think that's what this is. I think this is just like a standard, just like I found it in a record store and just picked it up whenever I found it. Just standard black pressing, but again, one of my favorite albums. It's got a lot of memories from the year. What's in this?
92.
92. Yeah. A lot of memories behind this album, and it's definitely a favorite. Whenever I found it on vinyl for the first time, I snatched it up without hesitation, without blinking an eye. I was just like, yes, I have to have this album. And yeah, definitely one of my favorite Rick Rubin produced albums.
Killer, yeah. That's probably one of the more popular. Well, in the '90s, that was probably the most popular one that he had done. He's done a lot of stuff, but that Under the Bridge was such a huge success. Yeah, I chose something a little different here, and I'm glad you brought up Johnny Cash, because like I thought about that too. He was on American Recordings for at least an album or two, and I know like Rick Rubin produced that. He did like System of a Down, like you said, Beastie Boys, and like I thought about it for a minute, but I'm like, yeah. I've talked about License to Ill on this show before. It's cool that he's done a lot of stuff. I think to the metalheads, he's most known for Slayer, and that's actually what I went with. And I went with my favorite Slayer album, actually, Seasons in the Abyss. This is a Nuclear Blast repress, web shop exclusive, clear on 180 gram clear vinyl.
Nice.
Number 123 of 666. Yeah, pretty cool low number there. One thing that I think it's great about a lot of Rick Rubin produced albums or stuff that was on American Recordings is you get that little label there in the center there. I remember when System of a Down did Toxicity, theirs was a little like more looked like it was cartoony on it, but yeah. Slayer's Season of the Abyss. This is hands down my favorite Slayer album. When these pre-orders went up, I jumped on it quickly. I bought this one. I bought Rain and Blood and the live album. And the live album I got like number 52 of 666. But I slept on. I should have gotten like South of Heaven and other ones, but I eventually got Divine Intervention, the number, the clear 6 out of 666. I'd like to have them all, even Diablos and God Hates Us All and what else. But yeah, Rick Rubin did a lot of good stuff with Slayer. This album in particular was fucking awesome as shit to me. War Ensemble, even the title track, Seasons of the Abyss, Dead Skin Mask. Like he got a good sound out of like one of the best, probably most all time like cult metal bands of ever. And yeah, Rick Rubin did real good with this one, and I'm glad that we went a little diverse here because you chose Chili Peppers and I went with Slayer. It's like opposite sides of the spectrum there when it comes to the music genres. But
absolutely,
Rick Rubin did have he's awesome, man. Like I have no hate for that guy at all. Like what he's done for the music scene is incredible, especially the hip hop he's done now. I mean, all this like early 2000 or late '99, early 2000 Jay-Z stuff was him. I know there's a lot, but he's a phenomenal producer. He's got a great ear for music. The stories that Beastie Boys told about him in that documentary that came out during COVID, the Beastie Boys story, were really interesting. I mean, he was a smart guy. He was like a tech nerd who just hung out in his apartment with all these fucking drum machines and knew how to fucking bring that thick bass out, which you hear that on License to Ill is more than any of their other albums. And that's
Yeah.
because Rick Rubin had laid that special touch on there. So I loved it. Those 808s came out like fucking whoo. If you got a good system, listen to that first album. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that we didn't decide to delve into the discuss why Rick Rubin's beard is better than Grindstopper's.
Yeah. All right. Well, when he comes on our show one day, we guys can have that debate.
Sure. I'm ready. Rubin.
Next topic. This is a fun one. This is a really fun one because it was a head scratcher for me. What the hell is this? Favorite album where the cover has no title, no words, just a photo.
Just a photo. Very, very few records in my collection have this. One band in particular that has this is like a common theme with them. The title of the band and the title of the album. Bless you, baby. My wife is sick in the background, by the way, everybody. She's cute. Yeah. Anyway, the album or the band that I'm referring to that has the name of the band and the album on the back of the artwork is Fawn Limbs. Fawn Limbs, and I'm going to try to showcase this. This is our first episode we've done during the day in a while. So I've got the natural light and the unavoidable glare from the computer screen. This is their Harm Remissions album. Maybe if I take it out of the jacket, it'll be a little better, which of course it's not. Fawn Limbs was a band that I discovered during the pandemic whenever Bandcamp Friday was doing or Bandcamp was doing their Bandcamp Friday. And I decided to take a chance on this band that I had heard a lot of people talking about and never, I believe it was Champ Morgan, actually. I believe it was Champ that was praising these guys a lot. And I'm like, you know what? I like Champ a little bit. I think I can kind of trust his opinion on bands and music and, give this band a chance. I'm so glad I did. I am so glad I listened to Champ for once because Fawn Limbs is an amazing band. This pressing in particular is like a clear with black smoke type pressing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a great looking pressing. They have 3 or 4 albums, several 7 inches. They've done a split with a couple of bands, I believe, but they are absolutely one of my favorite bands that I discovered during the pandemic. And I don't think they started during the pandemic. I think that was just whenever I discovered them. But either way, Fawn Limbs, Harm Remissions, very obscure artwork for all of their albums. It's like a fun thing whenever you find them in a record store or something. You pick it up and go, "What the hell is this? Fawn Limbs, awesome!" So.
Yeah, shout out to my boy Sam, who plays. I think he plays bass in that band. He plays bass in Artificial Brain, but that he's in that band, I believe. I'm pretty sure. We've talked about this before because you played that for me, and it's a little mathy.
A little bit.
Yeah. I believe me and James, our pal James Lenzig Jr. was talking about it to me once as well. So cool. That's awesome.
Oh, well, dude, it's funny that I bring up Champ because he did guest vocals on this album. Isn't that ironic? Samuel Smith.
That's his name.
He plays bass for Fawn Limbs.
That's him.
So there you go. Are you a fan of this band?
I've listened to it a couple times. It is pretty interesting. I have not purchased anything of theirs, but only because you would talk about so much to me. And then one day James brought it up, and I'm like, well, these two are talking about it. I guess it's time I should check it out. And I did, and I was like, oh my god, this is not what I was expecting. Because Sam's more of like a black metalish dark death metal, Black and Death kind of like fan, and then like
Right.
I think like when I heard what I was listening to from Fallen Limbs, I was not expecting it. And I was like, oh shit, Sam! Like, so it's cool
Right.
stuff. It did not suck. So if that's what you're asking.
And also our good friend Mitchell Luna did guest vocals on this album as well. So
Yes.
definitely worth checking out. Check out Fun Limbs, Harm Remissions, guest vocals by Champ and Mitch. And yeah.
Cool. Hell yeah. All right. Mine, it took me a while because I had to go through my Discogs to try to figure out what it was that I was going to pick here. I know there should be a ton of records in my collection, much like Jeff's, that have just artwork and no words on it. I mean, like a lot of bands do that. It's not a uncommon thing. But I thought about it long and hard. At one point, I got to a band that I've talked about a couple times on this show, but this is one of my favorite albums by them, Baroness Red album. This is unlike the Relapse ones. This has got a glossy cover because this was pressed by Hyper Realist Records, and I'll show you what's so special about this pressing in a minute here. But this John Dyer Baisley, just one of the coolest artists I've ever met in my life. He drew this. He does all the Baroness artwork. He's also done, and the year this album came out, he did like Darkest Hour, Skeleton Witch. I think a couple maybe other Black Tusk maybe, but he was doing a lot of bands artwork that year, and just Big Destroyer. He did a lot of bands that year, and I remember going to see them late December, I believe it was, at this tiny little like corner room in DC called DC9, and they played practically the entire album in its entirety, plus the first and second EP, and after the show, we went up and talked to him. I was there with some friends who were in a band, and the first thing they asked him was, "Would you draw our art?" And he just did a, and he gave him their email, but that's just. I think he was getting blown up by so many people that year. He was getting tired of getting commissioned. But I chatted with him a little bit that night, and then next time I saw them, Blue Record came out, and we became good friends, and the rest is history. But I fell in love with this band that night. Just listening to this album, I went home and bought it and just listened to it over and over. This was a great album, but this was different from all the Relapse pressings, and I'll show you why. Hyperrealist put this out on these cool red records, and if you can kind of see in the spine there's come on light. I don't know where to get the light to shine on. You see the cockroaches on the edges there?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So they got like
Well, that's cool.
as it spins on that side, there's the cockroaches. This side's a little harder to see, but it's like the claws of the birds, kind of.
I can kind of see it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hold on one second. I'm switching these things over to the good sleeves that you and I were just talking about. I want to show you this other one. Right, this side is it's hard to tell. I don't know the heads of these birds, maybe.
Stuff taken from the artwork of the album.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude,
yeah.
that's definitely cool.
As the record, this side's like the roses and stuff like that. But like as it spins, it kind of like moves along with it. Yeah, there were I think 100 of these. I can't remember, maybe more, probably more.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cool rare pressing that Relapse let Baroness put out through another label. This guy was the guy who put out first and second, and I believe that that split they did with some other band. I can't remember at the time, right now at the moment, who that was. But yeah, the Baroness Red album. Almost every Baroness album has just like John's artwork and no writing on it. So
Right.
yeah, that is my pick for the just art, no words.
That's a
They're
good one.
notorious for that. Yeah, they're notorious for it, and that's like like I said, a cool rare pressing that I have. I think there's more. I think it's maybe 1,000 of them, but I got that directly from the guy who, the hyperrealist, because he was trying to find the test presses for me and he didn't. And instead, he had sold me the test press for the first EP. So I have that test pressed and cool little bunch of like flyers from like that tour that they did supporting that in there. And yeah,
Oh, right on.
some of
Right
John's
on.
artwork and prints in there.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a fun one. I like that one a lot. All right. Yes. Yes. This next one's a cool one because it's very rare that Jeff and I, whenever we do this show, it's a 50-50 split decision. If one person says no, that we move on. When it comes to topics like this, I pick on you, Jeff. I pick at you, Jeff, to say yes sometimes. And I sit there. I don't even go through your collection. I just start shooting out bands and suggestions, and you're like, I do have that. I guess I could do this one. And you're kind enough to say yes because normally, like I said, if you say no to something, I never ask twice. So like, uh, this one was fun because I was like, come on, like, and I'm glad we did
Yeah.
it. So 5 heads are better than 4. Discuss if the big 4 had 5 bands, who would the 5th band be?
Mm-hmm. Now, leave it on the screen with both of us. I want to do so. Whenever we were discussing this, Nick's suggestions were like bigger names in the thrash genre in the 80s. And whenever I was going through the list, I was like, I don't really think that these guys would be, and these guys would be. A couple of them I didn't have. Like several of the bands I don't even have albums for. But the one that I decided to go with, whenever I was looking through the list and we were talking about it on camera, I said, well, what about this band? And he was like, yeah, dude, they were a thrash band in the 80s, and I love this band, especially their early stuff. The grindy, the thrashy, the 10-second songs are just I
The
love
Mosh. The
the
Mosh.
mosh.
That's
Yeah.
that really.
And as far as being iconic, like I never really considered these guys to be a stadium band. But in the same breath, my co-host has assured me, he said, dude, their logo is fucking everywhere. Every band on the Big Four has been seen wearing their iconic logo.
Yep.
And that just, okay, I'm doing this then. This is the band that I think should be the 5th band of the Big Four. I am going to go with Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, D.r.i. This band is just the early stuff I love, absolutely love the early material. It's like even on the hype sticker here, 22 songs in 17 minutes. What's not to like? This is just great material. And this logo right here, I don't even know what they call this guy, the scatting guy or I don't know what this guy is called. This is so iconic. You see this everywhere, and to back up my enthusiasm for D.r.i, I'm going to do a couple albums. This one I never even opened. I got it from Zia Records in Tucson, Arizona, a couple of years ago, and it's a lot of the same material that the other albums are. Like I Don't Need Society, Redline, Commuter Man, Violent Pacification, Couch Slouch. It just a lot of the same stuff is on these same albums, but I am such a fan that I have to have every copy that I can get. Every different variation of the same songs. I love this band. This one was actually the first one that I found just on accident. Just kind of, it was a random find in a record store, but it was the very first thing I ever owned from D.r.i back in the mid 80s, late 80s. And I've loved it ever since. And yeah, Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, D.r.i, I believe should be the 5th band if there were to be a big 5.
That's fair. Yeah. No, I mean they don't have to be a stadium band. I mean, not all the Big Four bands are stadium bands. In case you forgot, only one of them is. But I
They've
see your
played
point.
stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Anthrax has played stadiums. Megadeth's played stadiums.
Yeah, but when they go on tour, by themselves. They're playing like,
Right, sure. No, no, and I mean, I understand that too.
and then when
But
Metallica goes on tour, they play stadiums. But I
they
hear what
play
you're saying. Maybe in the '80s they were playing bigger arenas. All those bands, I would have to assume at least because all of them but Slayer were really on MTV getting that exposure. So they had that opportunity to be playing those. I mean, if you look at those Anthrax music videos, they're playing these huge arenas. I think Slayer, I don't know. It seemed to me like when they did that Clash of the Titans tour, that was probably like one of the biggest things they did up until like their final tour. Because like unless they were on like a festival, like Metallica was the one that was playing playing those
sure,
giant arenas.
sure.
But it doesn't matter. There's a ton of bands that I mentioned. I was shocked you don't know any of that stuff, but it is what it is. D.r.i is absolutely a classic band. They're a crossover thrash band, so they absolutely fit that category. And yeah,
Absolutely.
word. All right. So I went with probably the most obvious answer that a lot of people would give you if they said this. There's two answers. People would either tell you Exodus or Testament, and I went with Testament. Testament. This happened with the New Order. I think a lot of people give Lamb of God a lot of grief for the Into the Pit song. Kind of sounds like what's that first single or that first song off of uh, Ashes of the Wake.
Laid to rest.
Laid to rest, yeah. That riff is very, but all the Lamb of God guys were giant Testament fans. I think was Alex Skolnick on that record? Yeah, that on that
Yeah, he was on.
Ashes,
He was on the title track.
Ashes, yeah, Ashes of the Wake. This is a great song. My favorite song of this is a song called "Trial by Fire." It's the course of it is a little kooky, but like I just fucking love it. This is a cool looking splatter. Um,
Oh,
Megaforce
absolutely.
Testament. This is a Testament, such a great band. I think for a band that's been around since those days of like the thrash, the Bay Area thrash scene and all that. Like Testament is they've hung on hard and they put out some great fucking records. I mean, like Chuck Billy's fucking vocals, man. Jesus Christ, like that dude is incredible. This band fucking rules. I would think a lot of people would probably say Testament would be their choice if there was a fifth in the big four. But speaking of the big four, Jeff, the other day when we were talking about this episode, came up with some really interesting ideas and talking about doing big fours of certain genres, and we could probably do a full episode on stuff like that. But it is interesting because there's a lot of genres: hip hop, grindcore, a lot of it, death metal, and that's a touchy one because I was asking my friends last night who would be the big four of death metal. I started with Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, and then they were filling in their personal favorites with like Suffocation or
Sure, sure.
Possessed and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, like it's that's a touchy one. Who are the other four? Because like right now, like who is leading the pack right now? Like who are the other like? I personally think Dying Fetus could go in there. I would always say top five for Dying Fetus, but like the way they've been the quality of music that they're putting out the last couple albums, and right now they are playing bigger venues. They're not playing the smaller clubs anymore. They're playing much bigger venues right now on the way they've been touring. I see them getting to that next level like Cannibal Corpse has been, and I'm not saying Morbid Angel is not on that level. They just don't tour as much anymore. But like I think if they got the old band back together and started doing that, they'd probably be able to get into some bigger venues because people would love to come out and see that as well. But
Sure.
yeah, just I love that idea, the big four stuff, and this was a really cool topic idea that Shaw had for us, and like I said, it opened up more discussion with me and Jeff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as far as my big four, like I mean, Cannibal Corpse is like one of the more uh, widely known, bands in the death metal genre. But I don't know, like who would I put in my top four death metal?
Bolt thrower.
I guess we'll have to just find out on a later episode.
Yeah.
Dun
All
dun
right.
dun.
So moving on, we got a couple more topics to go here. This next one is actually a really cool one because, yeah, I like this one a lot. We'll get there. Fuck it, we'll do it live. This is your favorite album that you have seen perform live, and discuss the date you have seen this album performed live.
And this one, like, it was pretty much a no-brainer. Like, whenever I saw the fact that it was not a live album, but it was an album that, you know, you've seen it performed once. It's been performed live one time in its entirety. I was like, I called dibs. I called dibs on this because Nick and I were both at this show. I know for a fact we were both at this show, and it was one of the most monumental experiences I've ever had in my life. I am referring to Pig Destroyer performing Prowler in the Yard in its entirety. Um, to go along with this topic, I am going to show the actual set list from the show on September 26th, 2021 in Fillmore, Philadelphia. This was given to me after the show by Scott Hall, our good friend Scott Hall, who is of course, wrote the theme song for the show, and it's just fucking Scott Hall, dude. I mean, he's awesome. Yeah, he kept a copy of this for me, just like he does at the majority, basically all the shows. I get a set list from every Pig Destroyer show I go to, and this is one of the most cherished things that I will ever own. The entirety of Prowler in the Yard in its entirety, front to back. Phenomenal, phenomenal show. And it was fun hanging out with you, Nick. It was fun hanging out that weekend. It was a good set. It was a very good set. And I guess I should show, I also grabbed the picture disc just to, really drive home the fact that I'm talking about Prowler in the Yard. So,
yeah, that was a fun weekend, fun album.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. You're good.
Oh, you're done. Oh, okay. I thought you had a lot of records to show there, but that's cool. No.
I've got every pressing of Prowler. I'm not going to go through every pressing. It just the two set list.
Yeah. A couple things about that weekend. That was a very fun weekend. I know Blake was in a lot of pain that weekend, so I didn't press him too hard for too much. But me, and Blake, the night before Pig Destroyer played, you, me, Blake, and Lindsay, and a couple other people went to this. I don't remember the name of the club. It's outside to the right around the corner, to the left around the corner of the Fillmore in Philly. Last time we were there was a show there. That particular night, it was just like some dance club, and we went in there just to get drinks. But it was like a Britney Spears dance party, and I have like the greatest. I have and I know Blake can tolerate stupid shit sometimes, but like I have a great selfie of you, me, Lindsay, Blake, and I think it's all of us just like in that club. It's really red but that was fun as shit. The other story I got to share is I remember going outside in the little smoking area and seeing JR after that set, and somebody was like, "Hey, great set," and he goes, and he looks over at me, and I was like, "Yeah, somebody screwed up a part," and he did one of these at me, and he was like, he knew. I can't remember what song it was, but Tickets to the Car Crash, maybe. I think
I think it was. I think it was. Yeah, I remember.
He came in too early, and like they all looked at him, and he knew it. But hey, that was a fun night to be there. I think they maybe have done it one more time after that, but we were there the first time it happened. That was a great show. I really had a blast there. That was I say this a lot. I don't say this enough, but Philadelphia is my favorite city to go to a concert in because it's always a great time there. They threw down hard, and yeah.
Oh, and big shout out to Albert Mudrian again from Decibel Magazine for
his fest.
Yeah, it's his fest. It's his thing. So,
all right. So what I chose for mine in 2007, this band put this album out, and I remember the first time hearing it. I was not a big fan of it until I saw them perform it live on October 29th, 2007 at the Auto Bar, Between the Buried and Me Colors. It didn't sink in well with me the first time. I guess my simple little mind could not handle what they were doing on this with this record. And it took me seeing them performing it live in its entirety to really appreciate what this was. I actually filmed it that night, and I threw it up on Metal Injection at one point. But then they like released a really professionally shot live version of it. It was fucking amazing. I remember when they finished playing, they closed with Selkies, and that was awesome. 10 years later, I saw them perform it. They toured a 10-year anniversary of it. Um, it sounded a lot better the first time I saw it, I believe. But at the Auto Bar is a tiny little, small, what do you call it? I feel like that's huh? Yeah, the venue, but like I love like how like close up you are with the bands in that venue.
Oh, the
Whereas it's
intimacy. Yeah.
the intimacy, there you go. Whereas at the Baltimore Sound Stage, it's a little bit bigger. The sound is a lot larger. But I can't remember any of the bands that were on that tour. But that was on September 22nd, 2017. The encore they played Mordecai, which fucking awesome. That's from one of my favorite, the first album I ever discovered them from. Damn, what is that first album? The Silent Circus.
Silent Circus. Yeah.
This record is incredible. I bought this vinyl when I saw them on the 10th anniversary. It's not a colored vinyl, it's a standard black. I kind of frowned at the guy because I was like, this album's colors. Why can't? And he said to me, they don't press color vinyl on 180 gram vinyl. Get this fucking noob out of my face, please. Like, um, I believe my co-host has an OG pressing. Kudos to you. Like, I remember a lot of people on the internet at the time when this came out got OG pressings, and yeah, that's awesome. I wasn't sold on it when it came out. It took me a while. It took me to seeing it live to actually appreciate it. But I do fucking love this band a lot. They are great. There's a couple records of theirs that I do not own on vinyl that I would absolutely love to own. I don't have anything past the Automatica stuff. I have one and two of that, but the OG pressings. But Between the Buried and Me, Colors. Seen it live twice, not once, twice, and filmed it the first time. Second time, I kind of hung out in the back and watched it and just observed as a fan, and it was great both times. They are an amazing fucking band. If you've never listened to this record, give it a shot. If you have 64 minutes and 21 seconds to spare, listen to this album. It's a fucking journey. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely worth it. Yeah, I love that album. I love that album. I mean, I remember getting that the day it came out because like my experience with Between the Buried and Me was whenever they released the Anatomy of, I saw that they did a cover of Faith No More's Malpractice, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I have to hear how bad this band butchered it.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god, they nailed it. They nailed Malpractice, and I'm like, okay, I'm a fan of this band, you know. And then I just went through the rest of the songs, you know. I mean, the Day I Tried to Live, Kickstart My Heart, and all that shit. And I'm just like, I'm a fan of Between the Buried and Me. And the day Colors came out, I'm just like, oh my god, there's a new album from these guys, and I love Colors. It's a great album. Even the second one, dude. Like I will admit, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but I was hesitant because Colors is such a phenomenal album that whenever they released Colors 2, I'm like, oh, really trying to capture lightning in a bottle twice, but man, they did it. That's another great album.
I've only listened to it once. A couple years ago, I drove down to Raleigh to hang out with a friend, and I listened to it driving down there. So
It's fun.
yeah, I think you know, like I said, I discovered them when the Silent Circus came out, and then I would go to a lot of record stores and found the self-titled, which was just nothing like the Silent Circus. And then shortly at the end of 2005, or 2004, I saw them in Washington D.C. at the Black Cat with Darkest Hour. Cattle Decapitation was supposed to be on that show, but it was the last date of the tour, and it was like almost Christmas, and they just drove back to San Diego, I believe. But I remember they just put out the demo version of Alaska, and then Alaska came out in '05, and it was just. I think a lot of people started to pay more attention to them. Like they were not just some rock band; they were a prog metal band. But and then Colors came out after that, and that really just people were like, "This is the best fucking band right now in metal." And there was a lot of hype around them at that time. I mean, and rightfully so. It was a well written album. Those dudes are really good musicians. Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah.
Next one. Our vinyl, Who Art in Heaven. Favorite record with a cross or a pentagram on the cover.
Yeah, this one, like I went back and forth between a couple different albums, like Bungle's Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny, of course, with the pentagram on it, the Satanic Bunny. But I ultimately landed on, finalized, my final decision to go with was Master of Puppets, Metallica's Master of Puppets, just because, I mean, it's littered and Crosses, and again, it's such an iconic album. I don't think I've ever showcased my original copy. Like I own an OG 1986 pressing. I got this in Des Moines, Iowa. Again, in Des Moines. Whenever I found this, there's a sticker on the front that says skips multiple times on track 2, side 1, which is of course title track for the album. Otherwise, plays fine with some surface noise and pops here and there. Rare first pressing. I bought this thing for $30. $30 for an original 1986 pressing, and I'm going to see if I can't get this thing to like show you exactly what it looks like, because it looks like somebody took it and like skipped it down a gravel road. I mean, it is bad. The scratching on this thing is just like, it is horrible. I can't really, I mean, there's a spot right here. It's just really bad, but like the scratches in this thing is just ridiculous. It's not really translating very well over the camera. But yeah, it is an actual official 1986 pressing, so I can say that I own an OG Master of Puppets, but there's no way this is going on my turntable. You know, I'm not going to have it tear up my stylus and, you know, this and that. But the original insert, which I don't know if any of the other ones, like if the inserts even look like this, but this was an original 1986 insert, and I'm happy to own this. You know, I have bragging rights, I guess, to say that I do own an OG Master of Puppets, but I'll never listen to it because I don't want to take a chance to turn on my turntable. But yep, that is my album with Crosses. Had to go with Master of Puppets.
Cool, great album.
Yeah.
I'm going to go the opposite side of the spectrum and go with a Pentagram and a band that I don't know if I've ever talked about on our show. This band is called Negative Plane. They're kind of like a black metal-y. It's hard to describe. I know the black metal is like the biggest genre on it, but it's not like your standard black metal. It's like American black metal. As you can see, there's a little pentagram there with the goat in the middle. The Pact is the name of the record. This is their second album. Saw them earlier this year in Washington, D.C. at a little brewery called Atlas Brewery. My first time seeing them, they were fucking incredible. They sounded great in that room, actually, because that room is kind of hard to sound. It's a brewery, so it doesn't, everything bounces off the wall, but they sounded phenomenal in there. They're playing Maryland Death Fest this year. This is your standard black. I don't think they press any of their albums on color vinyl, but yeah, that's I had to go through my collection to see what I had with crosses or pentagrams, and like, you know, I even asked people, does that count as a pentagram? And of course it does. But I mean, look,
yeah, it does.
This is a very fun listen. If you've never heard this band, this is something that James got me into, and you know, we saw them. I think he was with me. No, maybe he wasn't there when I saw them. I don't know. But they're playing Death Fest this year, and we'll be there for that. And, yeah.
Hell yeah.
What label is this on? Invictus. I bought this from Seasons of Myths web store, so saw it, snatched it real quick before it was a mistake or it sold out. But
Hell yeah.
Okay. Last topic. This is a fun one because I like this. This is we went a little back and forth with this one. We knew we were going to do this, but we were also not arguing, but having disagreements about certain albums and their production. But no budget, a record with good music but shitty recording, and discuss if you want it to be re-recorded, remixed, remastered, and all that fun jazz.
Yeah, the one that I ultimately decided to go with, like one of the ones that I initially brought up was Deftones Adrenaline, because I think the production on that is horrible. But in the same breath, I don't think it should ever be remastered or anything because it is what it is. And I love Adrenaline. I love Deftones' first album, Adrenaline, but the production on it is just like, not that great. Anyway, moving on, the album that I decided to go with, and I believe, I know for a fact that Greg talked about this a year and a half ago, I think, whenever we did that episode. It's been, 9 months since we've talked, so it's been a while since we've had Greg Weeks on the show. But he brought up, and I believe he even mentioned the production of this album, Primus, the Brown album. Such a good album. It is, almost immaculate. It's definitely one of my top 5 Primus albums, but the production on it just goes without saying, is just bad. I don't know what the actual budget was for this album, but it was just like, they took the demos and they said, all right, press it on vinyl and let's get it out to the world. Should never be remastered. Should never be messed with. This thing should never, ever be polished from any aspect, but the production is bad. And you talk to Primus fans, not Primus fans, they'll all tell you the same thing. Not their best work production-wise, but as far as music itself, the return of Sathington Willoughby, the way the album starts, I have never seen this performed live, and I would give anything. I'm really hoping that whenever my wife and I go to see them on New Year's Eve in Oakland, California, that they open with Return of Sathington Willoughby so fucking much. I hope this happens. Other songs from this album are Fisticuffs, Over the Falls, Shake Hands with Beef. So good. Camelback Cinema, Duchess of the Proverbial Mind Spread, Rest in Bones, Kalamazoo. Dude, this album is just phenomenal. It is so great. Everything about this album is phenomenal. I think this is just a standard black pressing, so I'm not going to pull the vinyl out. But yeah, this is my pick for bad production Primus Brown album.
Yeah, Greg did bring that up, and I've had other friends in the past tell me that was such a shitty produced record and whatnot. I remember being at the Warped Tour in 1997. There were people everywhere with these little boxes of demo cassettes, and they were passing out that and Megadeth demos for Cryptic Warnings. And I remember taking that home and listening to Shake Hands with Beef and being like, "Oh, it's Primus, man. They sound a little more grungier with this fucking heavy tone." But I don't know if I've ever listened to the rest of that album or not. Yeah, that's well, shitty production.
Yeah. But again, phenomenal album.
Yeah, cool. I should go back and listen to it sometime. I went back and forth to this because I almost did an album that I've talked about a couple times in the show already, and I tried to go away from that. I'd like to try to show more of my collection than the same record, but it's hard sometimes because sometimes you're very like hell bent on showing off something. But I went the other direction and picked something that I was like, oh, I can discuss this to the full here. This is Canderia's Beyond Reasonable Doubt. This came out in, I believe, 98, maybe 97. It didn't get pressed on vinyl until, let's see, Rising Pulse #5. I don't know what year they eventually pressed this. Trying to see, 2014. This was pressed on vinyl. This was Canderia's first full length.
Nice.
That side's much cooler.
Yeah, it's awesome looking.
There are 100 of these pressed. They have several, I think maybe 2 or 3 more pressings from this OG, how it came like this. And there's no like case or anything. It actually came in like a picture disc sleeve, and I had to like put it in like a normal sleeve. But a couple years ago, Revolver Magazine had repressed it with like a border around, with the OG artwork and a border around the cover. And I think they're like numbered, maybe. I'm not sure. But I also have the test press.
Oh, nice.
Of that first OG pressing. Rising Pulse Records, Canderia, Beyond Reasonable Doubt, 5 pieces. Mine is number 5 of 5, and it's signed by guitarist John LaMantia.
Oh, very
Um,
nice.
yeah. I guess he handles like the web store stuff. Now, do I think this album? I don't think it's just because they I don't know like how much money these guys had to like spend on a good recording back in the '90s. They they certainly like what happened was in 2001, maybe 2002. They re-recorded this album and put it out on a double CD. The other CD was like some jazz project called Ghosts Along the Canal that they couple of them. I think the drummer and the guitarist, maybe the bassist was in. Anyways, they called it the Coma Imprint, and it also had a Method Man cover. They covered "I Came to Bring the Pain," but the production on that actually, it's the recording on it's a lot better than the way this sounds, and it's not bad. Like I'll listen to both anytime. It's you could tell the difference obviously, but just how like much better the production on the Coma Imprint is as opposed to the Beyond Reasonable Doubt. But they took it upon themselves to re-record their very first album and give people a fair due of what they wanted it to sound like. And I think it actually might be their second album. Surrealistic Madness might be their first album, but yeah, Candiria, great fucking band. Happy to have so many rare pressings of this album because this was a legendary album. I know a lot of people love this one. This is, and I just until I popped it out here a minute ago, I didn't realize I forgot how cool the splatter on the center of that one is. Oh boy, look at you! You wanted to do this in the daytime too. All right, cool. Well, so that is it for this episode's topics. Jeff, it's been 9 months. Do you have anything new that you bought in 9 months?
It has been 9 months. Look how long my beard is now. Yeah, and actually, like before we go any further, I forgot one on the other side of the room. I put it up with all my boxes, and I forgot to sit over here with my new stuff. So I'll be right back. Don't leave. Stay right there.
Okay, he is wearing pants today, folks. He'll hear this when he watches this back.
I was so excited with how this box set looked on the shelf that I had to leave, put it up there, and I left it up. The first of my new items is Terrifier or Pig Destroyer's Terrifier 20th anniversary that I believe you talked about like half a year ago. It was a long time since you talked about this pressing. So just like yours, got the hype sticker cut out in the middle. Beautiful pressing. Absolutely stoked that this was pressed this way on vinyl. Beautiful box set. Terrifier. Up next, I've got Evil Dead the Musical. Evil Dead the Musical. My wife and I saw this actual musical in Vegas on our 1 year wedding anniversary. Her gift to me that year was to take me to see Evil Dead the Musical in person. We were sitting in the first, I think we were in the second row, and during this musical, there's a splatter zone where in the first few rows they give you a white shirt to wear that's got Evil Dead the Musical and all this and that. But whenever somebody is killed or hurt in the production, you get sprayed with blood, and it was so much fucking fun, dude. It was so great. I don't remember what it was that made me want to look this up to try to find this on vinyl, but this was released. I want to say it was released. No, it was 2007 whenever this was released, and it was re-released in 2020. I believe this is the 2020 pressing that I have. Had to have it. Just such a nostalgic, just a fun memory for me, and it's a decent audio, decent recording. Speaking of decent recordings, this is the very first comedy album that I own. I found a copy of Mitch Hedberg's Strategic Grill Locations on vinyl, and as soon as I saw it, I bought it without hesitation. I absolutely love Mitch Hedberg. He was a very, very, very funny comedian. Um, gone way too soon. I'm sure that guy had way more material to come out with, and we will never get to experience any more of the awesomeness that Mitch Hedberg is. Before the internet, people that knew Mitch Hedberg would quote his jokes, and whenever, if you were a Mitch Hedberg fan, you knew other people that were Mitch Hedberg fans because they would get the references right off the bat. You know, you just go quote jokes back and forth, and just awesome addition to my collection. I'm glad to have my first comedy album from Mitch Hedberg. Awesome album. My next album is from Halsey. Halsey released The Great Impersonator this year. Her last album, that was produced by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, was the first album that I've ever bought from Halsey. Love that album just because of the Nine Inch Nails production that was put onto the album. And I was such a fan of it. I'm like, one day driving to work, I'm like, I'm going to listen to the new Halsey on the way to work. Great album. I am absolutely thrilled with how good this album is. Worth checking out if you like, your pop music to go along with Pig Destroyer. It's awesome album. And last but not least, my favorite album from Aborted, Engineering the Dead. This is they redid this. I believe they re-recorded the entire thing several years after the original pressing in the early 2000s, but I believe they re-recorded Engineering the Dead. Haven't opened this up yet. I have not had a chance to listen to it between work and doing everything I've been doing for the last 9 months. I have not had a chance to actually spin this on vinyl, but it is a limited edition transparent red vinyl from Listenable Records. And yeah, this is 100% my favorite album from Aborted. Glad to have it on vinyl, finally. And yeah, those are my
Cool.
new additions.
9 months later.
9 months later, all these years.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you got your hands on a lot of that stuff. You telling me that you found that strategic grill locations at a record store made me start to think, man, I wonder if people are breaking up that box set. And man, sure enough, people are. And I was lucky to find Mitch Altogether, which, in my opinion, is his best comedy album. He's on fire on this record, no doubt about it. Mine isn't a gatefold like yours, but here's Mitch giving you the finger while he's driving. Some classics on this one. This CD is in stores. Sandwiches is a good one about Subway and the Ducks. Not Track 5, not Chainsaw Juggler. Teeth, Candy Bars, Houses, Pop, The Pipe, Business Cards. The Business Cards one I love.
I love the Business Cards.
Sesame Seeds, 3 Easy Payments. That one is fucking awesome. I love that one. Arrows, Saved by the Buoyancy of Citrus. Shout out to Kirsten on that one. She loves that. Mitch in the South. Bed and Breakfast, X, and Movie Pot. This is just Mitch is fucking awesome. Next to Dave Attell's Skank for the Memories, this is probably my favorite comedy album of all time. This guy died way too soon. It was on April 1st of 2005, I believe, and I legit thought it was an April Fool's joke, and it wasn't. And you either like this guy or you didn't, but he was a very funny person. He had a lot of these just like one-liner jokes that were just great. Like, I don't have a girlfriend. I just know a woman who'd be very angry if she heard me say that. This is a cool fucking record. I'm very happy to have this in my collection. I'm pretty sure when we sign off, I'm gonna spin this a few times because I love this album. Like, I love Mitch Hedberg. I wish he was still with us. I'd love to have met this guy and
oh, me too.
Smoke real pot, not movie pot with him.
Get the fuck out of here, Peter Frampton.
Next thing that I got here is something that I bought when I was out in Chicago with Jeff. This is Dimmu Borgir's Puritanical Euphoric Misanthropia. This is a repress of it. They came out, I don't know what year it came out, but it's got new artwork and all that shit. And I was like, I've been looking for this album for a while, and I finally found it when we were at Bucket O' Blood in Chicago, and was stoked. I bought this when it finally arrived because I had to ship it back home, so I didn't crush anything in my suitcase. I spun it on the turntable, and I remember sitting back listening to it and being like, I don't remember this part being like this. And then like I finally realized they remixed this album, and I was like, fuck. I I wasted money on a remixed album. That pissed me off a lot, really, because this is a really cool album, and I don't know if you're a fan of Dimmu Borgir or not, but like, it kind of bummed me out because I was looking for that album for a while. But guess what I went and did? I went on the internet and then I found an OG, not an OG, but I think this is a 2018 pressing of it. Look at her boobies there. Nice body,
Hey,
nice
this is
chick.
a family show here.
All
Cover
right,
them
well,
titties up.
get out of here, families. What are you bringing your kids to our show for? This is a fucking incredible record. I think I spoke about it on the last episode we did 9 months ago, where I saw this concert in 2001. It was called the Spring Break Your Neck Tour. The headliner was Cannibal Corpse. Dimmu Borgir just put this album out, so they were touring this. The Haunted Made Me Do It, which just came out, and Lamb of God was still kind of, it wasn't new anymore. It was almost a year old, but they were touring New American Gospel, and saw it at Jackson Springfield. And a couple, maybe like a year later, I met everybody from Dimmu, but Nicholas Barker, and got them all to sign a bunch of stuff. But this is a great record, a phenomenal record. Nicholas Barker's drumming on this album is fucking insane. Like, I don't care who you are and what you think about triggers and all that, but he kills it on this record. I think there's, what is the song on here? Puratina is like the most popular one. I think CKY had that in the beginning of one of their DVDs, and it blew the fuck up after that. But I think from start to finish, this is a cool album. Oh, it's got the last track. I don't know if you can see it. Where are we there? Burn in Hell. That is a Twisted Sister cover.
Oh, nice.
Good stuff. So I bought a second copy because I didn't like that first one that I bought. Next thing that I got, I talked about this earlier in the episode, but I finally have the final pressing that I do not own to be a completist of the Red Chords' very first album, fused together in fused together in Revolving Doors. This is the sky blue pressing. It's like a baby blue vinyl. I now own all the pressings, including the test press and the super rare one that you could only get when you went to the show that was on my birthday this year, but I could not get off work and go out there, unfortunately. Shout out to the Red Chord. Love those guys. Hoping to get a couple more of them on our show. Next, I'm going to talk about, I think Jeff talked about this record 9 months ago when we did an episode. I saw this band called Bettered Lovers featuring Greg from the Dillinger Escape Plan and Jordan from Every Time I Die, Will Putney from Fit for an Autopsy. This album is fucking awesome. I was not expecting it to be this fucking good. This is the Orange Galaxy vinyl. There's 1,000 of these pressed. Let me it's a little yellow, but that's orange.
Mm-hmm. Very orange.
This album is so fucking good. I'd like to get my hands on the first EP that they did, because like these guys write some great shit there. It was very entertaining to see them live. This album is just great and ridiculously good. That fucking artwork is so fucking awesome.
It is absolutely.
Jeff, you got that really cool splatter last night, last 9 months ago that you were showing off. That was that one was awesome looking as well. These songs are great. There's a song on here. Where is it? Superman Died Paralyzed. Jesus fucking Christ.
Right.
Last week, right before I went to go see Better Lovers in Baltimore a couple months back, 9 months ago, whatever. I stopped in to Celebrated Summer to try to sell off that Dimmu Borgir vinyl, but the guy who owns Celebrated Summer wasn't there, and he could not make that transaction for me. So I just went through their stuff and found a copy of this band End Rain. The name of the album is The Way of All Flesh's Decay. I believe our good friend Mr. Adam Jarvis plays drums on this. So does Sebastian of Ex Noisem, and now he's in like a Mammoth Grinder and Exhumed. But
shout out to AJ and Sebastian.
I scored the Relapse clear.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, I believe the artwork was done by Away from Voivod. Cover's kind of got like this little, yeah, it's a little embossed a little. And then, I'm sorry. Yeah, and rain. Shout out to AJ about that. The sun is starting to hit me right now. This never happens. Can you see it right here?
I can. Mm-hmm.
It's oh, my cat's sleeping in his tree over here. I think it's escaped him. Last thing I got. This is the one thing that I bought when I was out in Chicago. Dying Fetus is one of my favorite bands. I'd like to own all their albums. This is one that I did not own. I could not find for a very long time. And when we rolled into Bucket O' Blood record store, they had it there. Dying Fetus, Stop at Nothing. This is the first album that Sean was on. He wasn't doing vocals yet. There's a guy named Vince Matthews who did vocals on this record. Vince was later was in a band called Criminal Element. This is clear with blood, red, hemajaba all over it. Looks like he got shot. This is a fucking awesome album. I remember this coming out, and a lot of people were a little down on it because Jason Netherton and Sparky and Kevin Talley were no longer in Dying Fetus, and they thought it was going to be weird for them to just keep going on with new members, but it was not. They got much better and much better with each album that they put out. But this is one that I've always liked, and I never really owned on vinyl. And walking into a random record store in Chicago with Jeff, finding it was a huge score for me that day. So yeah, that is it for me and my new findings. But yeah. What up?
Good ones, dude. You got some awesome records there, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Same with you. That Strategic Girl Locations is a great record. I loved. There are some solid jokes on there, and I pointed out this before, the stand up bass. I've always loved that.
Yeah, the bass on that is like the
sets the tone,
really,
sets the mood.
For sure. But like I was looking through the jokes on here, and it was just like, dude, Smacky the Frog. Dude,
yeah.
I've never thought. I've never thought to myself, here comes that frog. I better play dead.
Yeah. No. So fucking great.
It's
so great.
Good.
Rest in peace, Mitch Hedberg.
For real. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much to everybody for watching this week. Thank you for sticking around. Jeff, thank you for all your awesome picks, and we will see everybody next week.
All right. See you guys.